Rosselli Northern supports upstate New York construction with over 400 employees, 250 trucks, 9 ready-mix plants, 4 blacktop plants, and 40 aggregate mines. But their most important number is your bottom line. Contact them today to see why Rosselli Northern has been the choice for contractors and project managers across upstate New York since 1929.
All right, everybody. Fresh takes. Back at it again here on a Wednesday. Paul Russo, Nick Felice here with you. Nick, it's like we just saw each other. And that makes me feel pretty good. Not going to lie to you. But you're dressed up. You're snazzy. You just got done in the office. You're a free man for the day already. How you doing this Wednesday afternoon?
I'm doing good. Been to 2 baseball games last week.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Went to Rochester
Right.
Stadium. I forget what it's called. Innovative
Field.
Frontier Field in my heart. But
And all of ours.
yeah, it was fun. Watched the Indianapolis Indians. Haven't seen them in a while.
Lose to the Red Wings. Only proper that happens.
Yeah, 3-1. Red Wings, I think, are making a playoff push. So
Second half started yesterday.
yeah, doing well. You know, it's summertime now. Officially.
Yep.
So yeah, doing well. How you doing, Paul? What's going on with you today?
We're good. I'm a little bit stuffed up for some reason. Don't know why. I don't think it's allergies, but I think it's just like a little bit of a cold I'm dealing with. But
He's 2 months.
Part of it.
Today is Paul's birthday.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you. Had to bring that up.
You are 29 years old. It's good. The big 2-9. Yeah, how you feel? Good birthday so far?
Yeah, not too bad. Way to avoid the actual number. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, it's overall good. I mean, it's Wednesday. It's tough, right? I mean, these midweek birthdays are always like the worst in a way anyway. Not that I really care one way or another at this point, but you'll be all right. Got ice cream cake, I think, later on the night, so be all right. Be good.
Hey, ice cream cake's always a plus.
Yeah, so
Not Hawaiian Punch, which I'm drinking for the first time in a couple years.
it's a choice.
Yeah,
How is it?
it's good.
Is everything you remember?
Not as good warm. It's been sitting around a little while, a couple hours. Been trying to finish it.
I just have water for me, so.
Yeah. Speaking of cool.
Well, one quick thing.
Oh.
You mentioned summer. Just a reminder that starting next week, every other week, right? So we won't be on next week, be back the week after. Like we've said in the past, right, Nick? I mean, you could talk baseball every week, but that's just not what gets people to come back. So
So that's why we're creating a spin-off minor league podcast.
I'd be all for it. I'd be with it. Yeah, we're going to talk, obviously, the Stanley Cup here. That will be off the bat. We got the NBA draft tonight. We'll touch on that. But also other NBA news because Nick, your New York Knicks, are now the Nova Knicks. A lot of stuff going on there. So we'll touch on that. And we'll get your, I guess, review, summary, I guess, of Wrigley Field in Chicago at the end. So let's jump in. Stanley Cup final. When we were here last week, there we go. The Panthers still had a 3-2 lead, and we thought they'll get it done in Game 6, except they did not. And we went to Game 7 on Monday night that they did win, and the Florida Panthers are your 2024 Stanley Cup champions. However, not as simple as that, obviously. Even if the series did end after the 6th game, hypothetically, right? It's a lot deeper to kind of decompress, but let's start here, I guess, in a way. The Panthers get it done, but it was certainly the hard way, not the easy way.
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton was playing so well. I had in my head it already. They had won the Stanley Cup. It's kind of hard to process that Florida actually did it. Like, end of the day, Edmonton lost, and they have to start that very, and and hockey feels like the longest because it is, a very long journey again to get back to where they were. You know how hard it is for them to get back?
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup playoffs is already the hardest playoffs to begin with, and they might never get another shot again. I mean, that's crazy to think. I mean, not saying Canada. I mean, there's a bunch of Canada teams out there that get it done. It's going to go down to 32 years without a title. But, yeah, I mean, it was kind of shocking. Watching the game, though, Game 7, I was just a little wondering why Edmonton didn't pull their goalie earlier. I feel like they should have. They didn't pull him to like a minute 30. And it was just, Sergei Bobrovsky, he showed up when it mattered. He had not been playing great the last 3 games. That's no question about that. But when they needed him most, and it helped that they were at home, and I mean, 4th time's a charm, I guess. They had a chance to win the Stanley Cup 4 games in a row. This was Edmonton's first shot at it, and they got it done. I remember when they were up 3-0, they said the hardest one was going to be this last one, and it turned out it took them a while, another week and a half plus of games. So, Florida is not your household well-known team name, but they got some stars on this team. They don't have any superstars, but they got a lot of really, really, really good players. And you could say they might have the best goalie in the league right now. At least they have the hottest goalie in the league.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the coach. He was like the 3rd winningest coach.
Paul Maurice.
And he never had a title. So hats off to him. Finally got it done. You feel bad for guys like that have been coaching for so long. Just hasn't won the big one. It's kind of like Tom Thibodeau, Marty Schottenheimer. Those guys never did win, though.
Correct.
Maybe next year with Thibodeau. But
more on that in a minute.
but yeah, I was impressed. I was kind of pulling for Edmonton, not gonna lie, but Florida got it done.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was convinced after Game 6, right, that Florida did not have a shot at all. And you could make the case Edmonton played the better hockey for like half the game Monday night, but Bobrovsky played his arguably best game all series in between the pipes. It's interesting just because he had probably his worst 3 games just consecutively through the whole playoffs. We were talking about it on the car ride last night a little bit, right, Nick? Where it was just the whole Rangers series the Panthers had. The only reason why they really won it was because of him in a way, and for him to kind of just be the roller coaster ride that he was in the Stanley Cup Finals, nuts. It's crazy. He had to stand on his head, and he did in that 3rd period. I mean, Edmonton was peppering him for a while, and he just stood tough, held his ground, and the Panthers come away with their first Stanley Cup title ever in their 30-year history. Connor McDavid, historic playoffs, comes away with the Conn Smythe. That is for lack of better terms, playoff MVP. Not finals, Stanley Cup final MVP. Again, spirited discussion on the car ride home last night. I think more than we can bring the conversation to light here. I leaned more so that he was deserving, even though it was a loss. Nick, you were on a little bit of the opposite side of that. It's tough because for Florida, I feel like the only person who maybe had the case was Bobrovsky.
I thought it was a pretty well.
But the tough part for me with Bobrovsky was what I brought up. Connor McDavid did it the whole playoffs. Bobrovsky was a roller coaster ride for him in the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody really more deserving outside of those two, if I'm being completely honest. Maybe I'm a bit off base anyway, but I thought, all things considered, they got it right. It's just, I think it's weird. I think it's the sticker shock, right? That the fact that it was a losing player winning the trophy, I think, took everybody back a little bit naturally, right? You're just not used to having a losing guy win MVP for the playoffs or finals or really anything like that when they give out that award. So
when's the last time it happened?
I think it was just a sticker shock. I can't remember exactly. I would have to look it up. But think it's the second time a forward's won it in the NHL as a losing player. I know it's been a little bit at least since it's happened, but I thought they got it right. Nick, like I said, you kind of thought maybe that they didn't.
No, I get what people are saying. I mean, there's not a lot of offensive players that stuck out for Florida. But I think Bobrovsky, he had the numbers too. And I thought he had a nice case for it as well. Not to take anything away from McDavid's done. McDavid did go a couple games there. He didn't have the greatest finals. And he had a great all-around playoffs, but he won a few games there where he didn't even get a point. So, I mean, sure. I mean, if there's one case where it could go to a losing team, he has probably one of the best cases I've ever seen for a losing player. So, you know, I mean, I mean, they made a big deal of when the Warriors won the championship in Korea and never had the NBA Finals MVP or whatever. I really don't think the players care about that. I mean, depends on the player, but Bobrovsky's just happy he won the championship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a cherry on top as the MVP.
And likewise on the other side of it, then when they interviewed McDavid, he goes, "Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's not the trophy that matters." You know.
That's the thing about the losing player. He's more mad they lost the game.
Yeah.
He'll just throw that on his trophy case. It won't be. It's a nice reward, but it won't be his most memorable trophy he's ever won. So,
right.
I mean, it's just gonna be noted as the year you lost. I mean, so I just don't ever see why they give it to the losing team. It just doesn't, I don't know. I would give it to Bob, but I'm not the voters. Who votes for this? Who decides this?
I think it's media, like any other award in that space. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was still a great Stanley Cup final. I mean, I think it's
could have been bad.
Yeah, we could have been talking about it last week like we were the other series, but in all honesty, it still feels like it should have been, right? I mean, like Edmonton, those first 3 games just so lackluster overall, and then the way they came thundering back, and I brought it up last week, right? Like this was a team that had a historic winning streak this year. They were a streaky team, admittedly, this season, right? But I brought it up, and it still rings true. Like if there was a team to ever come back now in NHL from the 3-0 deficit for the first time, it probably would have been this Edmonton team. I mean, there was a lot of scratching and clawing all year that they had to do. The interesting part I found with Edmonton was, you mentioned McDavid had a couple games where, he was shut out in terms of the point department, but for Edmonton, it was kind of collectively. It wasn't exactly the heavy hitters, quote unquote, that got them kind of going throughout the whole series. That ended up being the guys on really like the second and third lines, for example. That Fogle guy, for example, he's good. He'll probably, if Edmonton wants to keep him around, they're going to have to probably figure out some money situation here. But he's a guy anyway who's probably going to give himself a decent enough payday this offseason. But it's not one of those things where it's like you're expecting him to be the one to set the table, for example, in Game 6, right? Leon Draisaitl had a very, by his standards, poor series probably collectively. He'd probably be the one to tell you that too. I know by the end he was a little bit dinged up, but the fact of the matter was Florida, kind of had him figured out, right? And for a few games, they also had McDavid figured out. Just really weird how sports kind of play out every now and then, right?
Not one overtime game in the finals either.
Yeah, it's true.
I wanted it in Game 7, but never got it.
Oh. And also it was the series where we had, for the first time ever, multiple game goals scored first on shorthanded goals as well. So just one of those things where, it's one of those things where it's like, that's why we like sports, right? This was a really good series of an example of it, right? Where it's like, either you get the sweep, which is super rare in hockey in that sense, right, for the Stanley Cup final, or we were on the doorstep of seeing the first ever comeback from a 3-0 deficit in the NHL in the Cup final. So that's why we sit here and we enjoy talking about it.
Now, where does this leave Florida? Back-to-back Eastern Conference champs, a finals championship. Where are they about to start a dynasty?
I don't know. Hockey's weird like that, right? How, uh, you tend to be good. When you're good, you're really good in hockey, right? Like they'll be around, but it's tough to go back to back in hockey. I mean, the Lightning did it, but you're kind of seeing the back end of it now, where it's just like they're tired constantly.
Penguins
Like,
did it.
yeah. I don't know. Florida themselves are going to have some issues, right? But Boroski's not exactly young by any means. He's 35. Hockey players tend to have a lot of mileage on them, right? Just kind of naturally, just through the way they play in youth to the pro level, and then obviously the national level with the tournaments in the off season and stuff like that. So, who knows? I would imagine Florida's still going to be there next year, right? But who knows? I mean,
Not a Montreal Canadian.
But it was like one of those things, though. Well, no. But it was like one of those things, though, right, Nick? Where this was a Florida team going into this year that we were talking about, like they can't get over the hump at all. Now they finally have. What kind of is the expectation for them? I think it's got to be a little bit of an open book.
Just the Eastern Conference is so tough.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nowhere to hide in the Eastern Conference, right? Obviously, the Rangers, right? I expect them to be back next year.
Boston.
Don't know how I feel about them just yet. But Carolina should be, I'll call it retooled and ready to go.
Not sure what happened to our Devils.
Your Devils. As much as we enjoy dunking on them, right? But like they keep at least getting to the playoffs every year, right? Like, does Toronto figure it out finally? Yeah, stuff like that. So, and they're a good team.
Buffalo.
You'd hope. They got too much talent, I think.
I heard another ex-Saver won a championship. Was it Reinhardt?
Reinhardt and Apostko, so.
I didn't realize he was a Saber.
Yeah, couple.
They sound like the Pirates, man. These ex-players going out and win championships with other teams.
Shout out Jack Wilson. So speaking of other teams, let's transition over to that NBA side of things here. Let's do
the Rockets trade first.
Not the draft first, but your New York Knicks, Nick, make a trade that was rumored for really about the past month or so. It's just that nobody really knew how to gauge it properly. Mikal Bridges traded from the Nets to the Knicks. We now have what I call the Nova Knicks, but with the K in front of also the Nova portion of things here. Reunited with his former teammates, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and some guy named Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
And more or less the deal, right, is it's Bridges going from the Nets to the Knicks, and then there's just like a bunch of, frankly, I'm not getting into the weeds on it. It's just a lot of like pick swapping going on with it. But this was a deal, like I mentioned, rumored for about a month, but nobody knew how to actually gauge it because it literally was being dubbed, the roommate trade, more or less, right? And nobody knew how to really kind of gauge it because, like, well, is it us actually believing that this is a player trade actually happening here, or is it just kind of like an internet trade where it's like we're doing it for the laughs and it won't actually happen? Well, last night at about 10 o'clock, it happened. So
we were in the car together.
From the fan perspective here, what are your thoughts on what I view as a pretty big piece coming over to the Knicks?
Yeah, pretty crazy. We were with the car coming from the minor league game last night, and your brother's the Nets fan. So it's kind of cool to be in the same place as him when that happened. And a little shocked at first. I mean, he always dreamed of them coming playing together, and just the way you hear Mikal Bridges talk, and he always sounded like he was just bummed that his buddies were on the Knicks and he was on the Nets, and it finally happened. One, here in 2024, I guess we could just say, here in 2024, we can be excited about this trade because Mikal Bridges is a nice little player. He'll be right below Brunson as, top tier scorer on this team. Him, Randall, those are the big three with the other Villanova players. And the great thing about it, we saw with DiVincenzo last year, is Bridges, usually when you see a new player come to your new team, it takes a little bit to get them in the groove. These guys have been playing with each other their whole college lives. So they're going to pick it up. It's like riding a bike. And the chemistry's already there. He's been wanting to play there. But 2024, 2025, we're excited about this trade. But we did give up a lot of picks for like the next 7 to 8 years, unprotected.
Yeah.
When you think of something like that, you always think of the opposite Nets trade when they got Paul Pierce and KG and Jason Terry. They got those guys from the Celtics, and the Celtics just kept eating up those picks that the Nets gave them for years. I think it was Tatum and Brown ended up becoming some of those picks.
Yeah.
And that was really bad. At least Mikal Bridges is somewhat, in the prime of his career. Those guys were old.
Yeah.
That was terrible because their careers were going to be coming to an end here soon, and they didn't win no championship. Did get them to the playoffs, made the Nets relevant for a little bit, but they paid for it for years. And hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we know you got a young team with Brunson, not youngish, with Brunson and Bridges, and we could stay relevant for the next 8 years where those picks we're losing aren't that great of picks. So that's what you hope for. This year, though, it's going to be fun. I think Bridges gives them more scoring when someone's not shooting well, because there's games where Brunson doesn't shoot well. Doesn't shoot well tonight. Gives them more scoring. And the best part about him, he plays every game.
Yeah.
He's never missed a game. You get him and Hartenstein.
He played one extra.
Yeah, it's crazy. You get him with Hartenstein, who's typically plays every game. He got hurt last year. That was weird. But, yeah, this is a great move. Thibodeau guy. And Jay Wright's favorite NBA team has to be the Knicks. We got to get Archie and Akino back. That's number one.
No, you don't.
And
you can draw lines in the Nova
where's
sand.
Chris Jenkins? He's the one that hit the shot.
That's true.
Where is he?
I don't know.
We got to get him on the team.
But
last time they all played together, though, those four was that shot.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a couple things with this trade that I take away. I'll go with the actual playing portion of this first for the Knicks. Kind of opens up a little bit, I think, that starting five in terms of spacing a little bit, right? Because you mentioned the shooting, but Mike, he doesn't just shoot. Bridges doesn't just shoot, but he is a shooter, right? Not to say like you said, right? Not to say like Brunson's not, DiVincenzo's not. That's really, I guess, DiVincenzo's true name of the game is his spot up shooting.
Yeah.
But if you could have one critique of what ended up being the Knicks starting five this past year, they didn't really have that one guy that they could kind of go to. Bridges can be that guy, when they need him to be. Secondly, I view this as the Knicks realizing, the East really isn't shit right now in terms of, pinpointing the best team. I think I view this as, the Knicks really trying to take the driver's seat. In a way, and we haven't seen that in a number of years. Be interesting to see kind of how things play out now on the OG front, right? This now opens up a little bit of a possibility that I've been talking about for a year and a half now with you and Matt, right, and other Knicks fans in my life. How it's you should probably trade Julius. He doesn't fit what this team's kind of doing, even though he's clearly very good.
Yeah.
Kind of. To me, shows that Julius might be indispensable or be dispensable here. What does that look like? I don't know. I mean, if you're the Knicks now, their starting five is going to be interesting. I don't know what their starting five is going to fully look like here. We do know, right? Brunson. I would imagine they do DiVincenzo, right?
Well, Bridges.
I'm going to play the side of they re-sign OG.
I would like to see that.
OG, and then do you go very small and do Randall? Do you go with Mitchell? Personally, what I would do I would re-sign, and I'm going to act as if this is the case, Hartenstein, and I think you run that starting five, and that's a really...
Thibodeau likes a big center,
That's a good starting five,
Mm-hmm. Thibodeau likes the center. Randall will definitely probably play the four. I think DiVincenzo goes to the bench as a bench shooter if they sign OG back. If they sign OG back.
So you think they'll go bigger on the starting five, not smaller?
I think so.
So you're looking at starting five then yourself of Brunson. Would it be Bridges then technically at the two?
Yep, Bridges, OG
at Randall,
and then Robinson or Hartenstein.
Okay.
Make your pick.
Yeah, I mean I can see it.
And then Hart DiVincenzo and McBride coming off the bench with the other center.
Right.
And it'll be a 9-man rotation.
Can't interest you in that 10th?
I like 10, but for some reason Thibodeau never goes 10.
Can't get Sims in there?
I would love to put Sims. I'm a huge Sims guy. Then there's, I think Burks is gone, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think his contract was expiring, so.
Bogey's gone. You know, Bogey did it.
He was part of that trade, by the way. Not to make it sound like it was just true pick swaps, but like,
And he's a good player.
I don't think he was going to be ready, though, for the start of the year anyway, right?
So either.
So.
He had a pretty nasty injury.
Yeah.
But no, look it up. Obviously, we got to get OG back. I think that's number next priority. We still got 2 picks in this draft tonight.
Yeah. So let's get into that element of it, right? Now, for the regulars, right, you may be wondering, do we guys usually talk about the draft a little bit more? Yeah, we do, actually. But much like everybody, we both agree this draft is shit. There's not a ton to get excited about in this draft.
No.
To the point where it depends upon what mocks you see, but we've seen everything from one of the French guys going number 1 to I've seen Klingon going number 1. Look, I know we talk a lot about how like the 13 draft was bad and stuff like that, but like this is actually a bad draft.
It's a terrible time to have the first pick.
There's not a lot of not to make it seem like these guys are like trash. I mean, they aren't. You have to have some sort of talent to play at these like levels, but compared to like even last year's draft, it's just not the same. And like you said, Nick, if you're the Hawks, this is just a like miserable year to have number 1. Like if you're the Hawks, a team that like on paper should probably have been competing this year anyway, they just were the Hawks. Like what do you do?
No.
I don't know.
Zach Edey.
Yeah. Oh God. But it is a interesting day. This is the first year that we have the draft over 2 days. Round 1 tonight on Wednesday. Round 2 is tomorrow on Thursday.
Why?
This is just a bad draft. Like, I wish I had more to offer, like, in this discussion, but, like, I'm not going to know what's going to happen until the pick actually gets announced. Like I said, you look at, like, take 15 different mock drafts, and odds are you're going to have 15 different scenarios. Nobody knows exactly what the hell is going to happen.
Besides Woj.
Well,
he's still spoiling him.
It's Shams now who kind of does that, if you pay attention.
Really?
But, yeah.
Why do people spoil it?
You got to be first. Got to get the clicks.
You
got to get the clicks.
When's this Brownie guy going?
So, I've been listening a lot more to the Bill Simmons podcast lately. Kind of gotten reinvigorated with Bill. I'm kind of with him. I want the Celtics to do the funniest thing ever and take Bronny at 30 just to spite the Lakers and spite LeBron, and then just keep Bronny stashed at the G League in Maine all year and just like
Maine.
Exactly, torment LeBron and the Lakers that way.
That is so far from LA. Yeah. In Maine.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
I don't think he even deserves to be drafted. His college numbers are awful.
Yeah.
Sure, he's got the potential. I don't really give a crap about that. And I think whoever it takes him is going to be a handful. Yeah. I mean, not to say the kid's not a good kid. It's just comes with a lot.
There's baggage.
Yes.
And not really of his own doing.
No, it's
the only baggage of his own doing, and even then, I don't consider medical to be really your own doing, right? Is the heart issue, but like I said, like how much of that is really on him anyway? Probably not anything.
Yeah.
You know, so
just a freak injury. Yeah. But I don't know. I wouldn't draft him. 1, his upside's not that great.
Yeah.
And 2, it comes with a lot.
Yeah. Like
you just said. And I don't know. I'd be intrigued to see who takes him. Wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers will take him. But if you're the Lakers, you just got a new head coach. You're the wrong team that should take a question mark player like this.
Right.
You got to get going.
Yeah.
Built this team back up. Yeah, you made the playoffs last year, but you're still in the play-in every year. You're the Lakers. You got to – no, that'd be –
But they're in-season tournament champions.
Yeah. I would like to see Joe DeMents get drafted, but
Not
I
happening.
don't think it's happening.
No.
Which is crazy to me. Don't people use their eyes? I can watch Joe DeMents. I see a very talented player there. What do you see?
He took a step back this year.
Do you not see talent, though?
I mean, I see talent. I see talent in everybody, but he took a step back this year. I don't know.
You see talent in Big Baby.
R.I.P. He's in jail now, Glenn Davis.
Is he
but-
really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he was one of the guys who like committed fraud against the NBA for that insurance payout. I think he's got like 3.5 years in prison or something.
Wow, Big
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
He's probably killing it out in the prison basketball league.
Yep.
He's a good rebounder.
I wouldn't want to mess with him. So that probably wraps up our draft coverage right for now.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
really it. Have fun watching. It's 2 days. Next year it's going to be 5 days. Imagine.
Oh God, no
Why is it 2 days? That's just. I remember when that came out. I was pissed.
money. ESPN and money.
Yeah, come on, tune in. Let's watch the second round of this
The
great.
second round is
NBA
literally
draft.
at NBA is at the ESPN studios
Is it
in
really?
New York. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. All right, before we get out of here, Nick, let's have you discuss your trip to Chicago last weekend
Windy City.
in Wrigley Field. But you did a little bit more than that. But obviously, I know the main antithesis for this portion is Wrigley Field. You and Matt went. Let's kind of start there, I guess, and kind of see where this goes over the next couple minutes.
Yeah, let's see where this goes. It's like you're regretting giving me the mic here.
No. I don't want to spoil where you also went following the game
All right.
just yet.
Wrigley Field was awesome. Was part of the Cup Snake.
Yep.
There was a few Cup Snakes that started in that game. It's not a great game. 11-1. Mets beat the Cubs. Didn't hear the "Go Cubs Go" song, which is a little disappointing. But Wrigley Field, old school ballpark feel. Right next to the one Cup Snake, the Cup Snake they got on the SNY network for the Met coverage. We were right there when there was another Cup Snake. And if you don't know what a Cup Snake is, I guess I should explain that. That is a cups of beer stacked together after you're done. So it's just nonstop cups. And, and we put the two Cup Snakes together. We joined forces and we beat left field. Right field had the better Cup Snake when it was all said and done. Left field was dumb.
Left field sucks.
Yeah.
Left field sucks.
That's what they were chanting. And, it was fun. Definitely an atmosphere like no other. It is just a straight party out there in the outfield. This is just the outfield bleachers, which also very weird that you just buy a bleacher ticket. You
Yep.
don't get your own seat. And you have people coming up. Is anybody sitting there? It's like you never see that. Everyone's got your own seat at a baseball game. And anybody sitting there? No, nobody's sitting here. And it was hot though. Got the beer bats. That was pretty cool. A little expensive. $37, no refills. But we did come up with a loophole. We just buy another beer and you pour it in there. So I guess it is a refill. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Old school atmosphere. Saw that Clemmer guy from Barstool just walked by me. Big Mets fan. I guess Frank the Tank was there. All in all, really cool. Ivy was cool. Yeah, it was a good time. I like Wrigleyville in itself too. And that was a busy day on the spot. Matt and I bought he bought them for me, but 2 tickets at Soldier Field
Yep, there it is.
and watched I forgot the guy's name.
Lee Joel.
Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks was the opener.
How did you forget the name of Billy Joel?
Well, one, I'm not a huge fan of their music, but I did enjoy myself at the concert. Never again am I walking up those steps. We're way at the top.
Yeah.
Soldier Field, 32 steps. Never again. I bought 2 beers. I wasn't coming down. I wasn't
That
coming
was
back
it.
That was
That's
cra-
where you were the next hour and a half.
That was a cool concert, though. Knew a couple songs, like the Fire song. You know, Ryan started the Fire song.
No, we didn't start the fire.
But I like that song. I like the Piano Man one.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks got a couple hits as well. Got some interesting fans, you know, little
What
hip.
group was Stevie Nicks part of?
Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
a little bit of a hippie crowd, but you deal with it.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Never been to Soldier Field. The one bright spot about being that high, great view.
Yeah.
You could see they had a great moon that night.
Mhm.
You could see the Ferris wheel over there, the city over there. That was cool. That was really cool.
So you were over by Soldier Field. Obviously, you were at Soldier Field.
Yes.
That
Even
means
went
you,
by the United
that
Center.
means you were in the vicinity of Grant Park, which I brought up last week.
Oh yeah.
Did you see any of the setup for the NASCAR race going on, or no?
No, but I did see a lot of advertisements
Yep.
for them. They are definitely advertising that well.
And tell us about the place you went to eat, by the way.
Oh, what's it? Luminati's?
Lou Molinari's.
Lou Molinari's.
Molinari's.
And I had my first deep dish pizza. And it was pretty good.
All right.
Not good warmed up. But right out of it.
Fresh, great.
And that place was cool.
Yep.
They got a nice bar there while you wait. Guy gave me a pitcher of beer, and yeah, it was a great time. That was cool waiting for the pizza. That was a cool atmosphere there.
It's good to hear.
And yeah, saw the United Center.
There you go.
Went to some breweries over there.
Yep.
On the west side, and never made it to White Sox Stadium, but our hotel room did have the White Sox channel, so
There you go. Will you be going back to Chicago?
I would love to go back.
All right.
Not sure when I'm gonna go, but it was a great time.
There you
I
go.
liked being an hour behind.
Central Time.
I
Zone,
love.
baby.
Give me the West Coast time, man. I want that time
You
so.
want Pacific Coast time.
Yes, I would like to be 3 hours behind. Game starting at 4:00.
Then other games start at 7.
London game starting at 6:30 in the morning.
You're gross.
Yeah, but seriously, everything's done, and then at 10 o'clock, then you go out.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right.
Well, great time, great. No, I should have saw the NASCAR, but thanks for giving me the pizza recommendation though.
No problem. So that will conclude Fresh Takes for the week. And also, like we said, we're on summer hours now, so we won't see everybody next week. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
Schools out.
Easy.
Oh,
Easy.
summer.
We don't need a copyright strike. Who are you shouting out today, Nick?
I'm gonna shout out my friend Tim White and Paul Russo today. It's their birthdays. Happy birthday, Tim. Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy birthday to Tim as well, yes.
Shout out. Happy birthday, Jeter.
Jason Kendall.
Jason Kendall.
Yep.
June 26th. Happy birthday. Shout out.
Nick, I appreciate you. Appreciate Tim. Happy birthday to Tim.
Good guy.
It's a good day to have a birthday. So on that note, we'll talk with everybody in a couple weeks. Enjoy the 4th, everybody. Get outside, celebrate. We've had a lot of decent weather here recently, so take advantage of it. We'll talk with everybody in a couple weeks.